We okay, Tony? Yep. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the May 30th County Commission meeting. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning again, and just a reminder, if you have a cell phone, please silence that. Meeting documents are next to Commissioner Bender, and if you need a listening device, Carol would be able to help you with that. With that routine business, item number 1 is to consider a motion to approve the agenda.
Approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 2 is to approve the minutes from May 23rd. Item A is the minutes themselves. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any changes? All those in favor of approving the May 23rd minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item B is the joint Sioux Falls City Council and County Commission minutes of that date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the joint commission meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Excuse me. Motion unanimously passes. Item C is the County Commission special tour minutes.
Motion to approve with a comment.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Barth.
Mr. Chairman, I really want to thank Carol Muller and Nick Foshheim for their efforts on that tour where we took a bus and went around the county looking at economic development in our area. We went to a really number of great sites, and I think it was good for all of us.
Commissioner Heiberger.
Second that. That was one of the better things that we have added to our list of things to do, and hopefully we will be doing it again in the future. I think it was an eye-opening experience just for, even though we're all out in the county doing things, we don't stop and actually look and talk to the people necessarily unless there's a problem, and these were all very positive tours. It was really a lot of fun. So
Good. Very educational. We have a motion and a second to approve the special tour minutes. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 3, first of all, Scott, also thank you for your part of that process. Bills to be paid of $1,740,165.46.
Pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments?
Chairman.
Mr. Litz.
Good morning, Commission. Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. I'm here at behest of Commissioner Barth to explain a few of these bills that are going on. On page 1 at the top, there are 3 lines up there that talks about cash with trustee and that we've paid towards bond payments. And where that money came from is we've got over $7 million in the 2014 crossover refunding, and that cash has been taken out of there to pay some of our bond payments as our schedule. And the big number you see up there is the $136,455, and that is as a credit on that part of it. And then if you go to page 17, you will see that same $136,455 being paid out down there. We draw our payments. The payments happen twice a year, once in the May-June period, and that is interest, and then the other one is November-December period, and that is interest and principal. And of course, the one we're doing right now is simply interest. We have two funds that we draw money out of for the bond payments. One of them is the building fund, and the other represents debt redemption. The debt redemption represents the monies that we've got that were referable. And going forward, our jail payments, they're going to be out of the debt redemption fund. We're going to try to put everything in debt redemption unless it's ongoing levy, in which case it will be out of the building fund. So does that explain your questions on that good enough, Commissioner Barth?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Mr. Auditor.
Then the other item that Jeff wanted to explain was on page 8, there are some Armor Correctional Health Service payments, and also Morris Correctional Health Care, which is a related entity. And those payments that you see on there represent a set amount. That is also 2 months' worth of billings, but we have a estimated contract with Armor. We make a payment of a specific amount every month, and then if you look at the line at the bottom of Armor Correctional, there's a $66,620 credit, and what we do is we true up every month after the payments, and this month here we came out ahead on the payment, but that $486,995 represents a contract payment that we make supposed to be making every month. In this case, it was every 2 months.
Questions for Mr. Litz, Commissioner?
Since you're here, I was wondering if you could also comment on the number of bills that we paid to the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. Those are all our insurance bills. Are those paid annually, quarterly? Do you know?
You know, I'm not prepared to answer that, but I could certainly get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm thinking that we make regular payments to them. So, but I'll have to research that for you, Gene.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
you know, out of $1.74 million in this week's bills, I think we just showed that there's quite a few irregular large bills that we settled with the debt payment, et cetera. So although that's a fairly high total today, it's not out of line.
Any other comments, questions? We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 4 are no reports. Number 5, personnel actions. To consider a motion to approve routine personnel action. Is there a motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve routine personnel. Any questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. There's no applications for abatement, no notices and request, no planning and zoning notice. Item A is a first reading and authorize the county auditor to publish the notice of a public hearing at 9 o'clock on June 27th in a joint scheduled meeting of the City of Del Rapids City Council and the Minnehaha County Commission for dedicated road vacation. Good morning.
Good morning, David Heinold, Planning Department. This is a request. It's a half-mile west of Del Rapids on Highway 17. It's just north in an existing subdivision. This is a request. It's an existing. It's an undeveloped 66-foot dedicated right-of-way in the middle of a subdivision that the property owners, a few of the property owners, have signed the application because there's a minimum requirement for 2 township voters. And legal notice must be published for at least 2 weeks prior to the hearing. So action needs to be taken for the June 27th joint meeting with City of Del Rapids and County Commission. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions?
I'd make a motion to authorize publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the publication on June 27th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion unanimously passes. There's no petitions for compromise. Now's an opportunity for public comment. If anyone would like to make any comments about an item that is not on the agenda, we'd be happy to hear that. Item 10 is a public hearing to consider an application for special event on-sale liquor license for Prairie Pasta, Inc. on July 8th at the Fraternal Order of Police. Olivia.
Yes, we received an application from Prairie Pasta, Inc. A wedding will be held at the Fraternal Order of Police on July 8th, and so they're seeking a special event on-sale liquor license, and it has been reviewed by the Sheriff's Department, State's Attorney's Office, and Planning Department, and there were no concerns or objections reported.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so if anyone has any comments, we'd be happy to hear about that. Nobody is moving. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the application for the event at the FOP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 11 is to consider a motion to approve the county malt beverage liquor license renewal applications. Olivia.
Yes, we received a renewal application from Bottoms Up. This would be their 2017-2018 license. It was reviewed by Planning and Zoning, the State's Attorney's Office, and the Sheriff's Office, and no concerns or objections were reported.
Motion to approve?
Second with a question.
Certainly.
Olivia, they missed the bulk of the applications for renewal. What would be the deadline where they would not be able to get a renewal routinely?
Right. Their current one expires on June 30th of 2017.
Okay.
However, the state prefers to receive them, the renewal applications in May, which is why we approved the bulk of them last week. So I would say the state most likely would take it up until the June 30th date, but that would be up to them.
And thank goodness we're still in May.
Yes.
We're still in May.
Other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the malt beverage liquor license renewals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Excuse me. Item 12 is to consider a motion to approve and consume and blend alcohol beverage liquor license for an event at the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum. I can't ever say that.
Burrito.
On July 15th. Thanks, Jeff. Olivia, you can say it.
Yes, a wedding will be taking place at the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum, and they just want to do a consume and blend, so they won't be selling it, they just want to have it available to their guests.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve the alcohol beverage license. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Do commissioners automatically get invited to these things?
Only if you can say the word. I can say recidivism now after 8 years, so that's good. Item 13 is a briefing on Minnehaha County Special Alcohol Beverages License Limits and Costs. Olivia.
Yes, so at the May 16th meeting, the commission had expressed interest in possibly changing the limit for special event alcohol beverage licenses. So before you, you'll see a comparison with Minnehaha County and the City of Sioux Falls. You'll notice that Minnehaha County, for all but the on-sale liquor, charges $25 per day with a $50 publication fee. And the City of Sioux Falls does $25 per day for malt beverage and wine with a $10 publication fee. But then once you get to off-sale farm wine, it's $50 per day and a $10 publication fee. And then both of us charge $50 per day for liquor. However, the city adds an additional $100 for the first day and $50 for each consecutive. So that I think would be the most or the best comparison, just because they're in our area. They do not have a limit on how many licenses they provide in a calendar year, whereas ours is 6. And then you'll also notice the resolution from 2011 that set them at 6 for the county is available. And then another comparison for Pennington County, they do 2 licenses per year per person per type of license. So the difference there is we can only do 6 licenses regardless of types. So for example, Wild Prairie Winery last year maxed out on their number because they needed 2 licenses for each event because they were doing on-sale wine and off-sale wine. So that maxed them out at 3 events. And then you'll also notice Pennington County does charge an application fee of $100. We do not have an application fee. And then they charge $50 for all of their licenses and then also do the $50 publication fee. One item to note is when I was speaking with them, they mentioned that on average they only get about 3 applications a year. Most people stay within city limits from the sounds of it. So there's that. And then one other item to note is that they do the notices do actually cost, I'd say, about the $50 range or more. On the most recent notices we did, It was $17 in the smaller newspapers and $20 in the Argus Leader. So it does cost us about the 50 or more, which is why I think the publication fee is fair.
Questions for Olivia? Commissioner Heiberger?
Thank you, Olivia. You actually answered one of my questions, and the other one was, you said Pennington County doesn't have that many. Do we have any idea about how many we have, or how many we've maybe rejected or whatever because of the way our policy's written?
Right. So in 2016, we did 15 special event licenses. And like I said, with Wild Prairie maxing out, so they most likely would have done more had they been able to. And then to date, we have 6, not including the ones we just approved today.
So it's not like we have people breaking down the doors to have a whole lot
Well-
more, but we could use some.
I think the issue is that the individuals who are getting the licenses are aware of how many they can get. I've talked to a couple different caterers, and both of them have said that they've turned down business because they know they've reached the maximum of 6. I've also talked to the sheriff's department, the state's attorney's office, and to the clerk's office about increasing that from 6 to, the suggested number was between 12 and 15. One caterer said that she had already turned down something similar to that in the number of events that they would have. I've also talked to a couple of the people who do this as a business with a location rather than going to a machine shed or a park or wherever they happen to be, and they are booked out for a long period of time already. In fact, some of them over a year. So I think this is enhancing their business, and according to the sheriff's department, he can't recall that they've had any issues with any of these licenses. They're pretty much self-administered, if you will. Commissioner?
I appreciate that research, Mr. Chairman. But you take a look at what it costs to get a full liquor license within the city of Sioux Falls, and potentially a one-day liquor license at, say, a place near Sioux Falls would be quite a bit less expensive than a full-on liquor license. It might cost $250,000 to have a full liquor license within the city, and so you're just outside the city and you get a one-day license for $50 a day. It's going to be cheaper to get the daily than to get the full liquor license. Olivia's got a point here.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, the one thing with that is it is a maximum of 15 days that they can get it
Right.
for. And then the other item is if they're providing the alcohol, they already have to be licensed, so they already have the liquor or the malt beverage or the wine license, the annual license.
Well, I appreciate that, and if I may, Mr.
Sure.
Chair, there's also, an issue where you might have a grocery store with like 6 or more locations in town, each grocery store would be able to cater a different party. And so, 6 times 6, let's say, is 36. 6 times 10 is, 60, etc. And I'm certainly willing to adjust the number. I just think we need to be cognizant of potential legalistic efforts to maximize this.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Heiberger?
I was just going to say, City of Sioux Falls does it, and they have no limit, so they don't feel like it's an issue. They've got the same policy idea that we do. They don't actually charge as much as we do for publication fees, and I'm glad to hear that we're at least covering our costs, because I think that's important. And I
we
would be
could
in-
certainly revise our stuff if we felt it was abused.
I would be in favor of raising the limits. I don't know exactly what that number would be, but I know we had this discussion a few years ago, and weren't quite ready to do it that time, but I think that this is absolutely important for our businesses that are trying to work outside the city limits.
Commissioner?
So if the process remains the same, the sheriff would always have an opportunity to review each individual license that comes up. I mean, I think if we limited it to 12 to 15, that's not an enormous jump from where we are right now. I mean, that's still a pretty manageable number. I don't know, Olivia, if you have any idea of how many of these are actually last for more than one day.
Yes, Usually only one or two of them a year last more than one day. For example, the Renaissance Festival is a 2-day event, but that's generally it.
Well, I guess I'd be in favor of using our current process and expanding it to 15. And if we could try it for a year, if we have problems, we can certainly adjust it. So I'd make a motion that we go ahead and expand the number of licenses. I guess we should, I don't know if we should discuss about whether we need to change the cost structure. Is there any strong feelings about the cost structure?
I'm okay with this cost structure. I'd like you said, we can review this again in a year and see if we need to go up or down, and if we need to change our cost, because Olivia would have some more data at that point as to costs as far as what's going forward in the next year.
I would agree. I mean, I was glad we were covering our publication fees. I wondered about that as well. So I'd make a motion to increase the number of licenses per year per vendor to 15.
I'll second that, and I'm wondering about an implementation date. Do we need to put a date on that? Can we start it immediately, Kirsten, like as in tomorrow, or I mean,
No.
how far out does it have to be?
It's just basically the same publication schedule of effectiveness of a resolution that applies. So once it's published, it's effective.
Okay.
But it'll need to complete publication first.
Okay, so we're talking it'll be ready within a week or so.
Once all of our legal newspapers run it.
Okay.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to increase from 6 to 15 and leave the fees at the same rate currently. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Thank you. Item 14 is the second reading and consideration of a final adoption of rezoning 17-02 from A1 agricultural to RR rural residential. Scott Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Scott Anderson, Planning Director. This morning, you have a public hearing on a rezoning request, 17-2, to rezone approximately 3.5 acres from rural residential, from A1 agriculture to rural residential. This has gone to the Planning Commission, and I've included the minutes of April 24th for your review. I'll give you a brief overview of where this is at, and I have a PowerPoint presentation for you to look at. So the petitioner is Robert Corey, and the property is located on the Renner Road, Highway 258th Street, which is the Renner Road, and it's about a half a mile east of the Jim Zweep Highway, the intersection of the Jim Zweep Highway and 258th. Thank you. This is the location you'll see is, like I said, a half mile east of the intersection of the Jim Zweep Highway and the Renner Road. The property is a total of 20 acres. The applicant resides on the parcel. You can see there's a large shelter belt. Their personal residence is located on the south side of that. The area that is in question to be subdivided is along the 258th Street. You'll see this is the proposed plan. The driveway is on the left-hand side, which goes into the applicant's property, and then they would be proposing an access easement along the south sides of those lots for development. Once again, this is gives you a depiction of the property. They're proposing to rezone approximately 3.5 acres. You can see what is a schematic or a sketch of what the applicant would like to propose for development of the 3 lots. And once again, you can also see their house on the south side of the existing trees and shelter belt. This is their garage and their personal residence. And then this is property that is also not to be subdivided, but part of their property. They have horses that are to the south part and a pasture. This is the area, this is the hillside that would be proposed to be developed. This is looking east along 258th. You can see the Renner Road sort of off to the distance there. This is this is standing on the subject property looking to the northwest. There's some existing houses, and you can see the county highway, Renner Road, in front of you. This is on the property looking at the Renner Road. There's properties across the street. This is a portion of their property. Here's their rezoning sign. I always take a picture of that because some people say they don't see them, and this was posted clearly on the property for them right at the corner. This is on the the east side of their property, looking sort of towards the south west. Shows there's a gentle hill there, which is part of the applicant's property. You can see the beginning of the tree belt on the top of the picture. And I will put it back to the, maybe I'll just leave it at this, on this slide for them. So the Planning Commission has recommended denial of this request. They indicated it does not fit with density zoning as outlined in our comprehensive plan. There are no building eligibilities available for development on this property. There is one building eligibility which is used by the applicant's personal residence. So I would be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Scott?
Okay. This is a public hearing and the applicant is here.
Yep, thank you. The applicant would like to say any. Mr. Corey, you'll need to come to the microphone. Thank you.
Me. Big Norwegian. Good morning, and thanks for the coffee. I'd like to thank Scott for doing a nice job on the PowerPoint. I think what you could see just a bit of is how it slopes. It is a totally useless piece of property as far as we are concerned. We have animals that don't have two short legs, so they don't go out there on the hill because it's just too steep. The highest and best use of that particular piece of property is for someone to come in and own a house there. We love it in the country. We would not do anything to disturb any of our neighbors. It's the people across the street have approved those. The people have been behind us except for maybe one, I think. I had a total spine surgery at the end of September last year, which to me sounded really weird when I had it. And I'm 70 and Bob is 84. We can't take care of that property like we should. You can see we have a new forest there along 258th Street. Those are volunteer trees that have just sprung up and will continue to, but we personally can't get in there. It's steep. It needs to be contoured and used, and again, highest and best use. So I would ask that the commission approve this use for our land so someone can enjoy it just as we do. It's beautiful out there. We need the pasture that we have adjacent to, to our property to the west and south. We have to have that. But no animals want to go in our north area. We talked to Philip Eggers, who is just a heck of a good guy and a realtor and a neighbor, and asked him about it, and he thought it would be a great use for this land, and he's the one that suggested the lot sizes and everything else. We have 50 subject properties within what, 2 miles? Within 2 miles of us that are comparable to what we are asking. Again, I'm not giving up my animals, and we have 2 blind mares. We're foster failures. It doesn't matter. But we have a lot of animals that we have taken in and need places for them. And I would enjoy neighbors as long as they're on the other side of the shelter belt. I don't know if you have
not
questions.
a CAFO?
Maybe if they bring me coffee, it'll be okay. I don't know. I love it out there. I taught in Sioux Falls for, I don't know how many years, well, till I retired. So I could have had some of your kids, by the way. But I don't know. I love it out there. And I want somebody else to love it out there. And by giving us the option of selling this property, we can pre-select our neighbors too. This would not impact anyone except the people directly across the street who have approved. Otherwise, they can't even see the property, the other people. So, do you have questions for me?
We need you to identify yourself and your address. Not that we don't know who you are
I
and
know.
where you live.
I'm
but-
Angie Dolan. I am the wife of Bob Corey, who is of medium age and losing his ability to do things in the pasture as well. There are 7 of us that live on the property. My daughter, son-in-law, and 3 children live there. Property is 47653 258th Street. It was easier when it was a rural route address. But
Thank
it
you,
is a
Ann.
Sioux Falls address. Our taxes, too, are so, by selling off little land, we could probably lower our taxes some.
Anyone have any questions for Angie?
I'm a font of information.
Any comments? Commissioner Bender?
Well, I should have asked. I would like Scott to come back up and explain the spot zoning issue to us, please.
Yeah, one
Thank
other
you.
thing I wanted to say that I forgot is we are adjacent to 50 acres that the city owns, just to the east of us. I don't know what the plans are for that, but I know that zoning-wise, we don't adhere to what is recommended. But I do know that that area is not being developed quickly either, so. And Scott's done, like I said, a great job of doing these pictures, so I appreciate that
No,
help.
thanks.
Thank you. Scott, do you want to?
I didn't hear your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you just, got a cold and I apologize. If you could just walk us through the issue of spot zoning, which appears to be the primary issue.
Well, there's actually 2 issues. Spot zoning is one of them, and then the use of the following our density zoning is the other issue. But spot zoning basically is where you're creating an insular isolated zoning district in the middle of a larger zoning district. Primarily, this area is all zoned agriculture. You can see from the map there are several large acreages between the intersection of the 2 county highways. You can count the number of intersections or of residences and acreages and hobby farms. As I indicated in the staff report, which I think is included in your minutes, there are some areas that are zoned rural residential. Those are about 1.5 miles to the south, which are in Andes Acres. A lot of that Andes Acres was developed back in the 70s, like so many of our rural residential subdivisions like Songbird Acres or Swanson Tracts, or a number of these all sort of appeared in the 70s, which actually then prompted density zoning. And this is going to feed right into my density zoning. At that time, in 1989, the county adopted density zoning, which basically indicated each existing parcel would be given a building eligibility, and then beyond that, every quarter section, which is every 40-acre parcel, was assigned 1 building eligibility to use. Now, if you have, let's say you own 400 acres, you may have 10 building eligibilities, which would give you the ability, if you so desired as that farmer or landowner, you could move those, which we do a lot of building eligibility transfers. You could combine them into one area, and you could do a subdivision, a small subdivision, and we've seen those in other areas of the county. But at this point, we have 1 building eligibility per quarter section, which is 40 acres, and then 1 for each existing lot of record that was in existence in 1989. The concern I think that the Planning Commission had, and certainly a concern that staff has, and I think some of the neighbors as well, is if once you start setting this precedent of someone having 20 acres, and allowing them to subdivide that, rezoning it to rural residential or some other zoning designation which would allow for subdivision. If you just look at the existing pattern of the development here, you could have many other people that start subdividing their property, and before you know it, you have 80 homes out there, where at one time you had 10, and that's certainly a concern. And I think that in the past, the county commission has taken the approach that you wish to continue following density zoning. We had a parcel which was approximately 2 to 3 miles away from here, north of the Renberg School last year, you may recall. That property owner had a 10-acre parcel and wanted to have the ability to put one house on there, and the county commission upheld that density zoning idea and denied that rezoning request. But I'd be glad to answer any other questions that you have. I know that was a long answer.
That was helpful, and I appreciate it.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I just would respond to Commissioner Bender's point, which is that building eligibilities are an asset to these properties and are sold for tens of thousands of dollars between landowners. And some of them have a couple of sections of land, and they move all of them to one corner of it and build, numerous homes, but then leave the rest open for agriculture. The hope would be, I guess, that we don't want every 40 acres to have a house on it, but that we would have some limits on urbanization out there. Anyway, that's the practice in the past. So by creating building lots, then we would be upsetting the apple cart somewhat.
Scott?
Could I make one more comment?
Certainly.
And I don't want to give the impression that this property will never be developed, because we are working with the City of Sioux Falls right now to adopt their new 2040 plan, and this will be in the city's transition area. And the intent of that transition area, and according to our comprehensive plan, we feel that this area will be ready for development at some time, and that would be when the city services are able to be extended out to this area, that being water and sewer. So, what that time may be, that may be a long timeline. That may be 20, 30, 40 years from now, as the city continues to grow and we see, extensive growth in the city. Certainly this could be an area that at one time, at a future date, might be very developable property. And we see that right now, on 6 Mile Road and Madison. I mean, we're seeing the city moving further to the north and east. So at some day, this may be developed. So I don't want to say it's not developable. It's just not at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I would make another comment if I may.
Sure. Just a second, Robert, if you would. You could come to the mic and we'll get you on next.
We have, in fact, added residential areas, for example, just north of Renner. There was but it's somewhat contiguous to existing development. In fact, there was an equestrian subdivision that we allowed next to probably, 90 trailer houses that were in a trailer park there. And we added some next to Sorum's addition there at Renner. And so it is sometimes where we have done something like this, but in a sense this is, those are on intersections of major operations already, and I just throw that out as information. Scott maybe would have something to say about that too, but
Mr. Corey, go ahead.
Well, each lot would be a little over an acre. With that would qualify so they could have their own septic systems. They wouldn't need city sewer. Rural water goes right on 258th Street, so they'd have easy hookup for their water supply. We'd build a road off of our driveway along the north of that shelter belt. They could have walkout basements or whatever. and there'd only be one exit and entrance on the 258th Street as far as traffic is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Commissioner Heiberger?
Just a comment, mine isn't a question, but maybe leading it in the direction that we may be going, and that is, I love your energy, I love your idea, I totally get why you're doing it, but I'm stuck on the building eligibility issue. I'm a rural resident. I do own several building eligibilities, and that is an asset to my portfolio or whatever, and I listen to a lot of my farming neighbors who feel like already Minnehaha County lets too much ag land go away, and I realize yours isn't farmable and it probably is a great place for houses. But unless you can buy a building eligibility and move it over there, at this point, I'm not ready to just give building eligibilities because it is a big deal. And by approving changing it to a rural resident, at this point, we'd be giving you 3 building eligibilities, which unless you purchased them, in my opinion, at this point, it's just not right. And that does, and like Scott said, it doesn't mean that that might not develop at some point. I just don't think it's today or this year. And so for that reason, I won't support changing it because it doesn't make any sense to change it if you don't have a building eligibility. So that's where I'm at.
Commissioner Bender?
And this is just a comment as well. I would agree with Commissioner Heiberger. I understand totally how it makes sense from your point of view, but just from my tenure so far on the commission, this is an issue that comes up frequently. And while we have approved, as Commissioner Barr said, some that were contiguous to other developments, I think the building eligibility is a big issue that comes up frequently. And I think to be consistent, we would need to, I would feel like I would need to deny this.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak or add anything to the conversation that hasn't done that yet? No one's moving, so we'll assume.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to uphold the Planning Commission's decision.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I can second that.
Any other conversation?
Just to be clear, that is to deny.
The denial was the recommendation of the Planning Commission, so this is a positive support of their recommendation.
Sure.
Correct. Any other comments, questions? If not, all those in favor of the Planning Commission's denial of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Sorry, but you can bring it back if there's some long-range plan that changes what those building eligibilities are for. It's a great project. I know you, Angie, from a while back from school, and I know you're great people. I wish we could have helped, but our laws are what we need to live with, unfortunately. So good luck next time. Thank you.
If I come again, just hang out.
We'll bring you a
Please
copy
do.
next time.
Item 15 is to consider a motion to approve the addendum to the Dakota Abilities Lease Agreement on May 5th for termination of the agreement effective July 28th. Carol Muller.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Muller, Commission Administrative Officer. Yes, for several years, we have been fortunate to have had a contract with Dakota Abilities to provide the lunches served, coffee shop, lunch shop downstairs, which has been a benefit to our staff, the jurors, and anybody who comes into our facility, along with the opportunity for Dakota Abilities to have their clients work there also. Unfortunately, they have come to us with termination of that agreement because of cost of doing business. So, and I do know that they're here today, and maybe we can just invite them up if they'd like to just speak briefly
Absolutely.
about this.
I can't see you, Bob, but I can see the top of your head, so I know it's you.
I'm Bob Bohm. I'm the Executive Director at Dakota Abilities, and Joe Dvorak is here with me. Joe's day service responsibility covers the lunch, et cetera site. this is not an easy thing to come and talk about. We have probably for a very long time, and as you probably know, we had a site similar to this at City Hall. We had to end that one a year ago. We could have made the decision for both of them at that point because that's the issue that we're dealing with. It's not about the dollar you pay for a taco or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's the issue of sustaining that service, having one of our staff people with one or two of our folks. As you know, that's workable in the situation that we have, but it's not efficient overall. Our fee structure changes very little. The increase we have to cover the services we're going to do for the next year is 0.3%. A sum that won't cover 1 year's worth of health insurance premiums for one of the folks that cares for the folks who have disabilities. So the decision, when you look at the numbers, is very easy. We can all look at our checkbooks and see what happens. But the impact it has on the individuals we serve, we've already received emails from folks here at the county who have friends and they're objecting to losing their friends. Well, we don't have to lose them, but I will tell you it won't be as easy to have access to them. Our mission statement says independence, choice, and access. Well, access is great, but it has to be financially viable. And unfortunately, I think where we're going is $839 to $1.3 billion of Medicaid cuts are being proposed right now. The devastation that will wreak will go far beyond what we're talking about here and not having somebody at lunch, et cetera.
Yep.
So we struggle with that. We're having difficulty there. So making the decision to talk to Carol the decision was easy. The implementation of it's exceptionally difficult to do. We love the access. We love the friendships we have. If our folks could actively, if those that are here were actively, moving toward an employment situation where they could take the skills that they learned and to move forward for that, but unfortunately we don't really have that opportunity either. So,
Joe, would you like to say a couple things, or?
Well, really, Bob said, it very well, most of what I wanted to say. I just personally wanted to say thank you to the county commissioners and the courthouse for the many years of good service and the relationships. I mean, like Bob said, it wasn't even about food service most of the time. It was about relationships for us. And I was the one personally who talked to Carol and talked to the individuals who work at the lunch, et cetera, lunch counter, and they were hurt too. But I told each one of them that, one door closes, another one opens. This is absolutely what's going to happen with those folks. Many of them already have other positions in the community. This will challenge them a little bit and challenge us to look for full wage employment for them just at other locations. And they'll be okay, we'll be okay. And I just wanted to say thank you personally.
Well, thank you. It's a sad day that we have to even address this, and I think if we refuse to terminate your contract, what are you going to do then? You're going to have to come back, right? Other
well,
comment?
I would hope that's not where we're going.
No, we're not.
And we in our conversations with Carol, we'll make this situation work until we can figure out how to make the process work for everyone's benefit. So we'll make it work out.
Well, I would say that the people that have served us were delightful, and we are losing friends, not staff. So,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Commissioner?
Thank you.
I really want to thank you guys as well. At the same time, is there an amount that, obviously our staff needs to have lunch someplace, right? Is there an amount that we could subsidize the operation that would make it viable? And I say that because I don't know how our folks are going to be able to, get a cup of coffee or a sandwich going forward, and it's certainly a valuable. I mean, what are we going to get a national chain to move in here and offer us a menu? Is there anything that we could do that would be able to blunt the effects that you feel coming?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I can tell you, I'll tell you what the loss is without allocating any overhead to it. It's $30,000. We can't raise our fees. One of the pieces for intent here was not to compete with Sichuan across the street or anywhere. We don't want to create a restaurant situation. We certainly don't provide a restaurant kind of scenario where you provide a hot dog or a bowl of chili or something to supplement what you might bring in a sandwich or a bag of chips or something else that you have. It's not the same thing at all. And so part of the situation was we looked at it. It's existed for some time on that basis. So you just reach a point where you can't continue to do that and make it work, and that's part of it.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I would make a motion to authorize the chair to sign this addendum.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, but sadly, thank you, Bob, for making the time to come over here, and Joe, appreciate that, and we are sad to say you go, as everybody has told you.
Thank you. We're not going anywhere. We'll still be around, so very nice to have been here, and we hope that there's an opportunity at some point to do something together again.
The door will always be open. We have a motion and a second to terminate the lease agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Stay in touch, please.
We will.
Yeah.
If I
Item-
can just add to that, Commissioner.
Sure, go ahead.
Just let you know that we did send it out last week to the department heads, so it's been filtering out through everybody. And I have gotten some concept ideas, some questions from some different people, so we're kind of hoping to see that maybe we'll let things sort through for another week or so, and then we'll do some assessment, because we would really like to be able to continue something down there. Well, not sure what form it's going to take, but we'll see.
Chairman, we could always put a couple of state's attorneys down there.
Item 16 is to consider a motion to approve the decedent transport agreement on morgue contract with MedStar Paramedic. Seems like we're kind of in the doldrums here. Dakota Abilities termination and now issues with transportation with people who are going to the morgue. Carol, go ahead and try to follow up with that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, this is the annual contract you put in place last year, and it expires at this time of year. So we are here again to go through and renew the decedent. I struggle with that word. Not arboretum I can do okay with, but decedent is one that I struggle with. I think I typed it enough in this memo that it starts to make a little bit more sense. Yes, we are going to leave the cost the same on that. I talked to MedStar. They were very gracious to go through and accept the terms of the contract as we've had it in the past. The cost to transport a deceased person to the morgue will stay at $200 per transport. This is for decedents within the Sioux Falls area that is located within Minnehaha County. In other words, north of 57th Street within the boundaries of Sioux Falls. Just to let you know that the total cost of decedent transport in 2016 was $28,274. And this is when Dr. Snell, who's our coroner, says, I want this body to come in to do an autopsy. That's the only time we end up with that particular cost. So to let you know, that's the scenario before you, and would ask for approval to execute this contract, which is essentially a renewal for the next year.
I'll make a motion to approve that contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract. Any questions? My question is, I always thought that was ordered by the judicial system, but it's ordered by the medical director.
Pretty much it's always Dr. Snell who says if he wants the
Well, I
body to
thought
come in or
that,
not.
but
Statutory authority of the coroner, yeah, which you have a medical director appointed under law
Right.
instead of a coroner, elected coroner.
I learned something new. We have a motion and a second to approve the contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes. Item 17, County Commissioner Liaison Reports. Does anyone have any liaison reports? Commissioner Heiberger?
Last week, I went out to the state pen to review, or to look at, not review, the prison industries. Facility, a person from Facilities, Equalization, and Human Services were also on that tour. Just like a great eye-opening experience as to what's available in the prison industries to us and to nonprofits. As was said this morning in the building meeting, Mark from Facilities has made a list. They make office chairs. They make several levels of office chairs. They're a lot cheaper. Since we're a government entity to buy through them, they can make every kind of a metal cabinet you can think of. They can make every kind of wood cabinet you can think of. If you need a bookcase or shelving in the corner of, they'll measure it. They'll figure out how it would fit in there. For our jail, they are already making our uniforms and our towels. They make pillows. They make mattresses. A lot of things from our jail have come through there. They have a lot of services that I hadn't thought of, and obviously I hadn't because I hadn't been there. They also do printing and graphic design at a discount for government entities and nonprofits. We visited with a couple of guys that do graphic design and saw some of their work, and they are very, very good. They do book binding. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that, even though I've seen the brochure in the past, just being there and seeing what they do and the type of equipment that they have and the level of responsibility that some of those inmates out there have learned and are training for when they go out, they're going to be ready to hit the ground running with a job. Very talented people. They were making some cabinets and stuff. They make all the cabinets for the governor's houses that go out across the state. They do beautiful work. They really do. And obviously those cupboards aren't available to the general public, but what a great place for nonprofits and government entities to look at some of the options that they had. I mentioned to Mark, I said, before we buy any new desks or chairs, we need to at least compare prices with what is available to us, because they make them for a fraction of the cost, and they're made very, very durable. And so it was very eye-opening to me, and I appreciate the warden out there giving us the opportunity. He actually contacted us. They're making the new, our jail is expanding the heights of some of their beds. They're making all of those for us. They make tables for jails. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff they do, and they said, pretty much you give us a pattern, we'll make it. So it's very good.
Very good. Other liaison reports? Commissioner Bender?
I'd just like to mention that I attended the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce board meeting last week, and it just happened that Sheriff Milstead had been invited to speak at that meeting, and he did a great job addressing some of the challenges to the community. He talked a little bit about triage and had a very lively discussion with the board members there about the drug issues that we're facing here locally and nationally. And there was quite a bit of discussion about perhaps making that one of the chamber initiatives to take over the education component of that. That's kind of a void right now with particularly kids. A lot of that funding has dropped off, and so hopefully the chamber will look hard at that issue and see if that's something that they can get behind.
Thank you. Any other reports? Thank you. Any new business? Mr. Litz?
I was waiting for the old business.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There it is, old business.
Any old business?
Well, Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office, in response to Commissioner Bender's inquiry about the Public Assurance Alliance. I did a little research. I wanted to make sure I was telling you the facts instead of just opening my mouth, which my wife would probably find contrary to my nature. But the Public Assurance Alliance is an organization that's available to state and local governments. In our case, what we do is our vehicle liability. And the total cost, we pay it once a year, this year is $64,032.43. And the splits that you saw throughout the bills, those are the split outs for the various departments that do have vehicles. And much like work comp, the credits were on there. If they had a good year, then we got a little bit of money back. Some departments don't have vehicles, but the ones that the breakouts are for today were highway, emergency management, JDC, parks, safe home, planning, 24/7, jail, commission office, the auditor for elections, the sheriff's department, museum, EQ, and facilities. And the reason that I'm in there is we do have the vote tabulation machines, which we didn't know where to put. They're on wheels, so the logic was maybe we put them under vehicle liability. So, any other questions that I could answer for you?
I appreciate you looking that up, so.
Any other old business or new business? We can go back to that. I was thinking you were coming up before Bob did.
Carol Muller, Commission Office. 2 items today. One, just a reminder that June 9th, which is a week from Friday, is our first budget hearing. So we'll be working closely with the auditor's office this week on prepping all that. One of the things that you will find is that we need to get information back from you about what departments you'd like to hear from. So expect some communication coming by email in a very short period of time from us as we ask for your input in getting that stuff all scheduled, as we make this just a wonderful, seamless, efficient, effective process for 2018. I'm optimistic. The other question is a question I have for you, and that's talking about July 4th. 4th of July is on a Tuesday, so I would like to have some direction from you as to what you would like to do with a commission meeting that day. If you want to just drop it for the week, which is an option. If you want to reschedule for possibly a Wednesday, I don't know that Monday's probably the best day for it, or if you just want to drop it. It's nice for us to be able to start that processing through and getting things scheduled. And especially making sure that we get bills either paid ahead of time or a little bit later.
Any input on the July 4th date?
Mr. Chair, it's hard to be sure how much stuff we'll have coming up at that time, but certainly we're not going to meet on the 4th of July if it's a Tuesday. So barring a huge load of business that needs to be done, I would recommend us not meeting and skipping a week.
I think it's so rare that we cancel a commission meeting that I think if we cancel this commission meeting, we'll be able to adjust the workload and handle it. So I would support that idea.
Yeah, the time will be made up at another time, that's for sure. And it also reminds you that we'll have at least 3 budget hearings in
So
that period of time. So
a motion at this time, or?
I think we need to let people know what's going on.
Okay.
You don't necessarily need a motion for this. You
No.
just don't notice the meeting. So
Mr. Chairman, you're correct. If we have all those budget hearings, if there really is something that we need to address, maybe we can even address it on one of those days. So,
I would say we will not meet on the 4th, and if anything needs to be adopted or adapted, we can do that at one of the budget hearings that we have that'll be long and difficult. Any other new or old business?
Mr. Chairman, I would move adjournment.
And you'll be thrilled to know there's no executive session today.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion unanimously passes.
thank you.